Is Rigathi Gachagua a master of his own folly or unfortunate circumstances victim? That is the biggest question that I want us to break down so that we can all understand what has been going on between Rigathi Gachagua, his master President William Ruto, together with his members of parliament who are under him. For months, the push to impeach Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua was an abstract idea until it was not. Hints were dropped, accusations were hurled, but the defining moment came on 26th June, a day after the Gen Z's protesters, whose agitation was marred by what the government called spoilers, stormed parliament buildings and burned a part of it. That day, the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, technically ended his career of his own volition. Since then, he, whether knowingly or not, helped his detractors with his loose talks, turning the wish of President William Ruto's most loyal politicians into a reality.
Diana, we want you to be shareholders. So we are going to open up the share market in 2027. Nyinyi mkuja kwa soko, mchukue ile hisa mnataka. Si iko namna hiyo? Tutafungua shares yetu in 2027. It will be open. Watu ya Taveta mkuje mchukue zile shares zote mnataka. Tukimaliza uchaguzi nikuje tena na calculator niweke mawe mpya tuhesabu.
In a press conference in Mombasa on June 26th, that is this year, Gachagua unloaded on the government that was reeling from the aftermath of the unprecedented political protest. He specifically ripped into the National Intelligence Service, that is the NIS, being led by noted Haji, which he called a dysfunctional entity that exposed the president, the government, and the people of Kenya. The Deputy President even appeared to justify the Gen Z's riots action, asking, why did we stop listening to the people? Where did the rain begin beating us?
The Director General of the National Intelligence Service, Nuruddin Haji, was a junior officer in the National Intelligence Service before he was appointed as DPP. When he was appointed to the office of the Director General, because of inferiority complex, he chased away all the people who were senior to him when he was in the service, therefore crippling the capacity of that service and making it dysfunctional. 3 directors were chased away and reassigned to desk jobs in ministries across government. 13 assistant directors, men and women with proven track record of intelligence collection and analysis, were removed from the National Intelligence Service, leaving a shell under a clueless Director General who has no capacity to run the organization. And that is why the security sector was caught off guard by the intensity, the anger of the Kenyan people, the agitation of the Kenyan people, the resilience of the Kenyan people. Had Nuruddin Haji done his job, we will not be where we are today. He has no capacity. He is out of the country most of the time on business trips. The country is on his own. My boss, President William Ruto, is exposed. That he has to back down and admit that he has hurt the people of Kenya. Yet this matter has been in public domain for the last 2 months. I want to say that Nuruddin Haji must take responsibility for the deaths that occurred. He must take responsibility for the mayhem. He must take responsibility for failing President William Ruto. He must take responsibility for failing the government of the Republic of Kenya. He must take responsibility for failing the Kenyan nation by not doing his job and advising correctly. And he must do the honorable thing not just take responsibility, but resign from that office and allow the president to pick a competent director general. I want to request President William Ruto to consider, as a matter of urgency, to recall the 3 directors who are removed from the service and the 13 assistant directors to come and help reconstruct the service and get sanity back to the National Intelligence Service to serve the president, the government, and the people of Kenya. President William Ruto deserves better. He deserves a director general who knows what he's doing. He deserves a National Intelligence Service that is effective and that can analyze situations and keep him and the government informed on what is going on. It is embarrassing to me as Deputy President that it has taken protests, deaths, mayhem, destruction for the president to know the truth. Yet there is an organization charged with that responsibility.
Deputy President Fremley of the June 25th event, which Interior Cabinet Secretary Kithure Kindiki last month called a coup attempt, was shocking. At that time, the government badly needed not only to support of its members but the wider public. A visibly angry Ruto told the nations in a televised speech that Kenya experienced an attack on its democracy, rule of law, and integrity of its constitutional institutions. He assured a warning to the planners, orchestrators, and abettors of violence and anarchy. Remember when he was talking about the Ford Foundation, accusing them that they're the ones that have been supporting the Gen Z's demonstration.
We have no use for anarchy and violence and destruction of property and loss of life. Wale ambao wanasponsor hiyo violence, sisi tunawajua. And I want to call out those who are behind the anarchy in Kenya, those who are behind the sponsoring the chaos in the Republic of Kenya. Shame on them, because they are sponsoring violence against our democratic nation. Mimi nataka niulize watu wa Ford Foundation, watuambie hiyo pesa wanatoa ifanye fujo ndio wapate faida gani? We are going to call them out and we are going to tell them, if they are not interested in democracy in Kenya, if they are going to sponsor violence, if they are going to sponsor anarchy, we are going to call them out and we are going to tell them they either style up or they leave.
There was a systemic plan to ban parliament, but the Supreme Court and maybe the whole of the government squad and then go to State House. To Ruto supporters, the deputy's statements was a significant tale that told against any pretense of neutrality on the part of the second in command, who came off as an opportunist at a time of national crisis. To others, the deputy president was just asking probing questions that President Ruto's government tried to sweep under the rug. Either way, State House appears to have activated salami tactics, attempt to gradually take the deputy president down, and his behavior did indeed help fuel the urge to edge him out. Gachagua went into panic mode, thinking aloud at events and funerals. His tell-all interviewers with the TV station telegraphed vulnerability that provided more ammunition to those baying for his blood. Last Tuesday, the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula gave the nod to the impeachment proceedings, which effectively started the time to wreak vengeance on Gachagua. Courts have so far declined to issue orders stopping public participation that was in full swing across the country on Friday and Saturday, meaning the deputy president ouster is nigh. Plagued by claims of disloyalty, incompatible personalities, and divergent interest and world views, the relationship between President William Ruto and his deputy is so irreparable that the head of state is now in no mood for calls urging him to spare his principal assistants. The rupture could have been averted had they each fulfilled their promises. These were the words that Rigathi Gachagua used on May 17th, 2022. I am a man who was once in uniform. Mine will be yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Months later, during his inauguration speech on September 13th, that is 2022, he promised more. And I quote, "I want to assure you of my resolve and commitment from the bottom of my heart to be available to assist you to manage the affairs of our great nation."
And I must tell the people of Kenya, please take care of your families. Those are the only people you can rely on. Friends abandoned us. Business associates betrayed us. But family will always be there for you. The story of...
Although the jury is still out of whether Gachagua served his boss well or not, it's obvious that the pair's falling out can partly be attributed to the second-in-command's ambition for more power, a desire that was on display during the Gen Z's demonstrations that almost stopped President Ruto's rule. In a TV interview, he said, "I never expected this to happen. You know, my family is devastated. You know that this can happen to their father, a man who went out of his way to stand with the President William Ruto, and made sure he is elected president. So much for the once promising bond that during the September 13th, 2022, inaugurations appeared to last the entire entity of their term. In their public statements, they even said there was a long-term relationship. Before his election victory, President Ruto, who picked Gachagua out of 5 candidates, including Kithure Kindiki, Ndindi Nyoro, and many others, said that he and his deputy wouldn't have fallen out similar to the other he had with his boss, former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. Said in a TV interview, adding that he would not allow his deputy to be humiliated by junior staffs. Ruto called him a very passionate leader, an accomplished public servant, and a self-made politician whom he could trust to carry the mantle after him. But he have a covenant. If his deputy went rogue, he will be held accountable. If he, for example, abuses his office, there is law. The law takes its course. But as historians will record it in details, Ruto has been playing a long and effective game that he seems to have culminated in the impeachment motion. The day Gachagua castigated the government during the floods, and the day he held the press conference in Mombasa as Gen Z's protesters poured into Nairobi streets, Ruto gave his deputy enough rope to hang himself. But apart from the short-lived spark of bravery he showed in Mombasa, Gachagua has cocooned himself in Mount Kenya's interest. What's happening to me is worse than what happened to President Ruto when he was the deputy president. I asked President Ruto to please allow me work for the remaining 3 years. Let me serve the people of Kenya, he said, repeating the last sentence one more time, and keep your promise. Keep your promise, Mr. President. Before and after the impeachment motion, he was neither the yes man he had promised he would be, nor he exhibited the fighting spirit he claimed his Mau Mau family was known for. He lamented more by saying that he is not being treated even like Ruto when he rebelled against his then boss, Uhuru Kenyatta. But President Ruto had a rough time with former President Uhuru Kenyatta. Luckily for him, he had 5 years, first term, to work and worked very well without any disturbance. Gachagua, an eloquent man with a competitive streak, may not fade away from the political scene unless he commits the terrible mistake of waiting for the results of the impeachment that is sure to end his political career. He said a second chance. The gavel-to-gavel coverage of his differences with his boss has already offered him the publicity he badly needed, and he can tap into that in his future political endeavors. However, Gachagua's trouble is being worsened by the lack of regaining Mount Kenya's kingpin, who can steer the region's politics and put out fires during the crisis. After all, guys, let me also know what you think concerning Rigathi Gachagua and all that it takes, because right now he's saying that he's apologizing and he's telling William Ruto that if at all I did something wrong that maybe could have split or sabotaged our leadership, I am very sorry. As we are waiting for the final judgment from the office or from the parliament tomorrow, but we know the problem is with the speaker together with the deputy speaker, that is Wetangula, together with both Sholei. They are both saying that they can't allow Rigathi Gachagua to be in the office. But Rigathi Gachagua can have the last breath when the Senate will allow or will not allow him to be impeached. Let me know what you think at the comment sections.